Hi, my name is Bernie LeBattie and thank you very much for tuning in. We have a very important guest today and also a very interesting topic of discussion. Vanessa Goosen.
Hi, Pastor Bernie, and thank you for welcoming me to the show.
Thank you, you're welcome. Vanessa's story is really that she was a Miss South Africa finalist, pretty lady, had everything at her feet, and she was ready to enter this world and shake this world up. Let her tell us more about it. Vanessa, what happened? Where were you at your life at that stage?
At that stage, I completed school and I was doing modeling. I was at Bulls and Bears, a modeling company, and then I entered Miss South Africa, which I made it to the semi-finalists, and then opening a clothing store, which was in...
So you really had everything at your feet. You could do what you want to do. But then something important happened in your life. You made some important decisions, met some interesting friends, and that changed your life around.
Yes, I had a boyfriend, so we started the clothing store together, and there was this guy, his friend, that was actually also like dressed very nice, traveling around a lot, and I actually confronted him and asked him like, where does he buy his clothes? And he said he also go abroad to Thailand, Bangkok, to buy his clothes. So he actually told us it's a good place to be able to explore the fashion industry.
So he introduced you?
Yes, he did.
He advised you?
Yes, he did.
He encouraged you and he was virtually a mentor to you?
Yes.
At that point in time. But one has to be careful with your friends. What did you learn from choosing friends? And because here you were innocent, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to build your business. You had no need for drugs. You weren't on drugs. You weren't using. But there's something, just an awkward turn in life.
What I've learned out of it is that because of my boyfriend, I really trusted him because I loved him. And the friends he introduced me to, so I believe that he wouldn't introduce me to people that will not be a threat to me or will be in a danger for me. So when this guy actually advised us that we should look at Thailand, Bangkok, for be able to explore the clothing industry, I actually took his word for it, and we decided to go to Thailand. Yes.
So this was a typical story of that. The friends you keep will determine the trouble you meet.
Yes. Definitely.
So the wrong friends, even out today, to all our listeners, the choices of your friends can determine the outcome of your life as well.
And also trusting, because trust can also get you in a lot of problem because you trust the person and you don't expect him to do anything bad to you.
Let's continue on for a moment. Don't go away, listeners. The scene's going to get a lot more interesting. Welcome back. We still have our discussion with Vanessa Goosen, explaining to us a phase in her life which you would like to forget but can't. Miss South Africa, arrested, sentenced to death and commuted to life. You went to Thailand to go and buy some
fabric
because of your shop. Somebody asked you to pick up something for them. Your boyfriend's friend asked you to pick up a book. What happened?
What happened when I got to Thailand, I went to explore the fashion industry, and when I was on my way, my friend's boyfriend called me and asked me if I could just bring some engineering books for him. And as a person who really advised me and gave me the advice and like my mentor,
he was like a mentor,
to be able to not doing that favor, and I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll bring your books from your friend, from your brother, he told me, and if I could buy him some police branding clothing, and I said fine. His brother came, he gave me the books. It was engineering books, A4 hardcover, 4 of them, and nothing that was suspicious about the books, because bought like if it's a bookstore or whichever kind of store it was. These books, and so I put it in my luggage with my fashion magazines. So when I got to the airport, they did a random search. They asked me if they could go through my magazines. I said no, that's not a problem. They went through my magazines, and then the guy, he pulled out a small little knife, and when I saw it, I told him, what are you going to do? He said, no, don't worry, it's okay, because his English wasn't. Yes, I'm standing in the road, and his English wasn't very good. Yes. So he just showed me, says, no problem, not destroy. but we'll check. And I said, okay, fine, because these books are not my books. So he went through each and every book, but when he got to these engineering books, at the back of the book, when he put the knife in, powder came out. So when I saw that powder, I was...
Your life changed.
Yes, I immediately.
Your life
and when
changed.
he told
what
me,
happened through your, what went through your mind?
I knew powder is related to some form of drugs. And that immediately hit me. What is in that book? What kind of powder is that?
In a different country?
Different country, different
where
language.
drugs has a death sentence, capital punishment.
Yes.
You went to fetch, you brought books, and there you are. Friends and the choices. Sometimes that's what friends can do. My name is Bernie LeBattie, and thank you for tuning in. We are now discussing the Vanessa Goosen story, which is a story about her arrest, incarceration, and life and death sentence while in a Thai prison. Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Bernie.
We know the story thus far. You have been to Thailand, you bought the clothes and things that you went for. You ended up at the airport after having done somebody a favor to bring some books back.
Yes.
What happened?
What happened when I was on my way back to South Africa, they had a general search. So when they got to my bags, they asked me if they could search my bag. And I said yes. And because I had a lot of fashion magazines as well with these 4 other engineering books for my boyfriend's friend. And I said, it's okay, he can check it. But when he pulled out a small little knife, and I was like, what are you going to do? And he said, no, don't worry. He then started putting this little knife in the books. But when he got to these engineering books, it contained powder, because powder came out. And at that moment when that powder came out, I was like, I'm in trouble. And then he took me to the investigation room. When I got to the room, they tore the books apart, and both the front and the back cover was with, there was 4 windows, so it was covered with powder. So when he got this little tester and he put the powder in there, it turned purple. And he asked me, you know what's this? I said, no. He said, heroin. I didn't even know that heroin was a drug. It's the first time I ever heard of that name, heroin. And then he took me to a poster. We could see I had no understanding. When he took me to the poster, it was in English. So it said that heroin, death sentence. And right there, I realized I'm in a lot of trouble. So when he took me back, they took me for an X-ray. And when I was so confused, but I laid on the bed to take an X-ray, and then I realized I'm pregnant. So I jumped up and I said, no. And they told me, no, I should go back. And I started to explain to this woman, I'm pregnant. And then is when she realized they let me go. And when I went to sit back on the bench, I realized that I'm in trouble. I started panicking, like having like panic attack. I was sitting there, my heart was beating so fast, my feet was getting cold. I felt like my breathing is going to stop. And I felt like I was going to go crazy. I was going to go insane. And I just felt I needed that person just to hug me. I need somebody to hug me, just to remain sane. And when I got this only person that was sitting next to me was this officer. And then I grabbed the officer. And when I grabbed him, I held him so tight. And I just started crying. You know that cry that really comes from the depths of your inner being? And I was shaking, and he pushed me away. And I just fell on the floor, and I started crying. And then when the officers came, and they took me to the minivan to take me to the police station. But at that particular time, I did not know it's a police station. I was scared, I was afraid. I was the only one in this minivan with about 8 police officers. So when we got to the place, it was dark, and there was a chain on the lock. And I couldn't understand how a police station could be locked, because our police station is open 24/7. And when they unlocked it, put on the lights, I could see it's a police station, because there was beds and there was desks. The beds was kind of like foreign to me. But then they only asked me, do you want to sleep upstairs or downstairs? While there was porn movies playing. I was afraid. I didn't know what they were planning to do to me.
So you were alone in a foreign country,
yes,
in a jail.
And not even understanding the language.
What a terrible place. What a place to be. Let's continue after this.
Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome back to Dynamics of Life, and we still have our discussion with Vanessa Goosen. Vanessa, how did it go? You were arrested, you were taken to a jail or a police station, then you had to go through your court experience. What was that like?
I stayed 7 days at the police station, and then I was taken to court. When I got to court, I didn't have no understanding what was happening. All I could understand was my name, and when the officer would tell me to stand up and to sit down. My case took 2 years, and when I got first sentence, I did not understand what was happening until I returned back to prison, and one lady told me that I received a death sentence that was commuted to life. And then I appealed for second court, and then I received a life sentence again, and I appealed for third court, and then I received a 35-year sentence.
So you didn't give up?
No.
So during that period also, you were pregnant when you went into hospital.
Yes.
And you were pregnant when you went into prison. Tell me what happened with the birth of your child.
When I was in labor, I was unaware of it until one lady told me that I was having contractions. And after 1 day and a half, they took me to the outside hospital. And when I reached the outside hospital, I had 16 students that was there experimenting on me. It was 8 boys and 8 girls. And when the nurse that was watching over them saw that I was taking too long, so she jumped on top of me and she helped me to push out the baby. And the same with the afterbirth, that she helped to push it out. Because I was too weak, I was in labor for so long, and I had no strength. As I had to lay flat on my back, it was difficult to breathe.
So that was a terrible, inhumane experience.
Yes.
When did you go back to jail?
The same day, I returned back to jail at the back of a bakkie. It was very painful because I had 13 stitches, and the driving was very, very painful for me.
And that was the same day after you'd given birth?
Yes.
So Phoebe was your daughter's name?
Felicia,
Fifi.
yes.
She was
Felicia.
born in jail.
Yes.
And that was an awesome experience. Beloveds, we're going to continue the discussion later on, because I believe there's now the lifetime she spent in jail and the conditions in jail. And we're going to tell you more about that when we get to Dynamics of Life, special edition. My name is Bernie LeBattie, and we have the discussion going with Vanessa Goosen telling us about her life story. You've been arrested, taken to prison, sentenced to death, which commuted to life. You also then ended up in hospital, having given birth to your daughter, and you're now back in prison. Tell us about the conditions in prison.
The first night when I got to prison, I was moved into an old lady's room where there was hospital beds. So I was waiting for her to tell me which bed I will sleep on, and she told me, no, these beds are only for those who have stayed more than 20 years in a prison. So I needed to sleep next to the toilet on the floor. That was for the first few days, and after that I was moved to the mother's room when you're pregnant and those who have babies already. So I stayed in that room until Felicia returned back to South Africa. There was only one toilet in the middle of the room, and we were about 40 mothers with 40 children, and those who were pregnant were about 20 ladies. So when you had to go to the bathroom, it was very humiliating because it was open and it was in the middle of the room. And you could not take food in the room when you're pregnant, so it was very difficult when you get hungry. So I used to eat the cereal of the babies when I would get hungry. And then from there I was moved, after Felicia left, gone to South Africa, then I was moved into another room according to my sentence. And we were about 300 inmates that slept on the floor, and it was like an 80 square meter, and we slept like on an 18-inch, like our legs entwined. and there was only 3 toilets that was in this room. So
for 300 people?
Yes, for 300 people. So we actually had to queue up to go to the bathroom. And people step all over you when you sleep with their wet hands, and it was hot, and the fans were not enough, so you would get very upset and very angry. And then also when they opened the room, everybody just stormed out and ran out. So many people got hurt because they're all rushing, and I was wondering why they're rushing. And then I found out that if you don't rush out, you don't have enough water to shower, because you only have like 15 bowls to be able to wash your hair, brush your teeth, wash your body, and rinse your body. So they will count up for 3 bowls, and then after 3 bowls you put your soap, and then they count for the rest of the bowls, and then you gotta be finished, and you gotta wash your clothes, everything.
And that is life in a Thai prison. And that is, you're still going to tell us about the space that you occupied.
Yes.
Let's take a break and then we'll come back. Welcome back. We are still discussing conditions in the jail, conditions in your life, the life sentence, everything in a Thai prison. Tell us more about conditions in the jail.
The other condition we had was concerning the food, because everything that we in the prison we have to buy. So you have a prison card that your visitors or your family, they could send the money to the embassy, and the embassy will put the money in your prison book. So then we get like coupons inside the prison that you can draw on a daily basis, but we have a certain limit that you can draw for the whole week. So that money is that you can buy your food, because your breakfast, you gotta buy your tea, your coffee, your sugar, your bread.
So you're going to be self-supporting in jail?
Yes, they do. They have like food that they do give on 3 times a day, but it's like rice, and it was brown rice with I'll just give you an example of one food. It will be boiled cabbage, not boiled cabbage, cucumber with tomato and egg in water. That is one gang that goes with one sauce that goes with your rice. They give that 3 times a day. But then they have, because us foreigners, we're not used to that kind of food. So there is food that they sell to you. So when with this coupon, with this money, you have to buy your uniforms, you have to buy your pajamas, you have to buy your bedding, you have to buy your shoes, you have to pay for your medical, medication. You got to pay for your medication. So nothing in this prison is free. So the place where I worked in the computer room, and the salary was very small. It was not much. It was like cheap labor. But I had a place where I could, when it rains, I have a place to sit and be able to keep my one bag, because they steal your stuff, and the uniforms, you only have your name written on your uniform, but because all the uniforms are the same, so it's very difficult for you to identify your uniform when they remove your name immediately. With the pajamas, the same thing. They steal your pajamas and they remove your name immediately, so it's difficult for you to be able to find your things. And it's very expensive to buy these uniforms. So that was very difficult as well. And when it rains and you're outside, you got to stay in and eat because there's no other place to go.
And you spent 16.5 years in those conditions. Welcome to Dynamics of Life Special Edition. My name is Bernie LeBattie, and right now we're sharing the story on Vanessa Goosen, her life story in a Thai jail for 16.5 years. Vanessa, 16.5 years, that was what you received spent eventually.
Yes.
But you received a death sentence which was commuted to life.
Yes.
You are now in jail, having given birth, and you started living out your sentence. Tell us about the emotional conditions in this jail.
The emotional conditions was very difficult. I had a lot of anger because being in the prison for something that you had no knowledge of, that's very difficult to accept. And the different lifestyle, the culture, just everything in prison was very difficult, and it kind of had an emotional strain. But the anger and the bitterness I had was like towards my boyfriend and his friend, because I really didn't understand actually what really happened. So I had a lot of bitterness and then anger. I was upset with myself when I found out about my grandfather passed away when he heard the news, and my mother was tried to commit suicide. I really was very upset with myself.
Did you blame God?
I was angry and upset, and yes, I did. Like, why did I end up there? What was the reason? And
couldn't God protect you? Couldn't He intervene for you?
Yes. And so even like the inmates in the prison was trying to come close to me. It was very difficult for them because I was an angry person. And when I submitted my Royal King's Pardon application, this is an application where mine was based on humanitarian grounds. So I had all these letters that I got from very influential people, and I was very positive about this pardon. So when I was 5 years in prison, I submitted this Royal King's Pardon application that cost a lot of money, which I did not have. I did not possess at that time. But one lady who was an air hostess that I did not know from anywhere from Cape Town paid for my Royal King's Pardon application. And that took 3 years before I received an answer. And when I received a reply, they told me it was rejected. So I was already 8 years in prison. And when they told me it was rejected, it's like I completely switched off. You know, like a computer was unplugged. That is what happened to me. Then I had inverted anger. And I started punishing myself by doing aerobics and not sleeping enough and trying just to punish myself.
And that's when you obviously went into a deep depression.
Yes,
I can imagine
yes.
that you would.
And I wasn't actually aware that I was falling into a deep depression, and because of what was happening with me, because of the symptoms. I couldn't sleep, I had heart palpitations, sweats, and when I went to the hospital, they told me nothing wrong with me until one day when I collapsed and I ended up in the hospital.
So that was the beginning or the center of your depression. But we're not finished yet. We will continue. For now we're finished, but we'll... Welcome back to Dynamics of Life, and we're still busy with the discussion. Please tell me, you were in depression right now.
Yes.
How did you lift? Who lifted you out, and how were you lifted out of this?
I suffered depression for 4 years, and it was really difficult because when the doctor told me that I'm falling into a deep depression and I have panic attacks and anxiety attacks, I had no idea how to deal with it. And I had no medication, and I had nobody be able to help me through this process. So I actually ended up in hospital. I was hospitalized. I was put on drip because I was underweight. And then I actually completely gave up hope. And then when this one lady, she walked in, she touched my feet. My feet were ice cold because I actually gave up. And she said to me, Vanessa, you know what? You are a very selfish person. You only think about yourself. You don't think about your daughter that's waiting for you at home. And she started praying for me. And she rebuked the spirit of death. And she prayed life over me. And I could feel the difference. That life started coming in me. Okay. And then I made a choice that I am not going to die, but I'm going to live. And I made a choice that I'm going to do everything I can to survive this situation. And when I did that, everything started to change.
So when she spoke life, she brought life.
Yes.
What happened then?
Then everything just started changing. Not my physical condition, because I was still suffering. I still felt the pain. I was still going through that.
Anger? Or was that about?
No, that was when she prayed for me, when I actually I went to ask God to forgive me for doubt, because I doubted God. That is why I fell into that depression. I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of bitterness, and that destroys a person. And I had to make a choice, and I had to ask God to help me to forgive, and I asked God to help me to love.
And that was a turning point for your health,
Yes.
your depression,
Yes.
and it brought you closer to the Lord.
Yes.
We've got to go. We're running out of time again, but we're not finished yet. So, beloveds, just stay tuned. Welcome to Dynamics of Life. My name is Bernie LeBattie. This is the final section of our special edition on the life and times of Vanessa Goosen. Vanessa, you've been arrested, you've been to jail, you had a death sentence, commuted to life, and you're still in prison. You've been in a state of depression, and right now you're coming out. You've been prayed for, and all of a sudden there's a lease of life. You're forgiven, and all of a sudden there's a rush of life. Tell us about that.
So when this lady prayed for me, and I made a decision. So for me, everything starts from a decision we make.
Yes.
When I made the decision that I want to survive the situation no matter what, everything changed. Even the people around me changed. My situation I started seeing opportunity that I'd be able to better myself and able to gain more, that I'll be able to take home with me. And after that, I had to really go down on my knees and ask God to forgive me.
You also learned the Thai language?
Yes, I learned the Thai language, and the reason why I started learning the Thai language was when God called me to be able to minister unto the Thai people, and I could not speak Thai because I refused to speak Thai for 3 years. And when God called me to speak Thai, it was very difficult, but I made a choice that I will do everything to survive the situation. So I knew that God had a purpose.
I believe you also started a church.
Yes, I started being part of the church. I was one of the leaders in the church, and that's where I started ministering in Thai, speaking fluent Thai, and bringing a lot of Thai people to the Lord. And in the church, our church started growing. We started growing up to 450, and a lot of Thai people came to the church. So that started being a problem because that's a Buddhist country, and the Thais came in as Buddhists, and then after they changed to Christianity. So that was a problem. And then they started being threatened to say that when you go home, we won't be able to sign your papers due to the fact that now you have changed your religion. So when you came in as a Buddhist, but now your religion has changed to Christianity. And then one morning when we woke up, they transferred all the prisoners in the church. And only a few of us foreigners was left.
And that was probably the biggest mistake, because then the gospel was spread even further.
At the beginning, you know what God says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, your ways is not my ways. We didn't understand. I actually was crying and I said, God, all our hard work, what happened? And then after, when we got the news back, when the missionaries said, do you know, they started churches wherever they went.
To be continued. Beloveds, you got to listen to the last, because the latter was always better than the former. Welcome back. We are still discussing the life of Vanessa Goosen. Vanessa, you had your death sentence was commuted to 35 years. Then you were released. What happened?
I received 5 amnesties from the King of Thailand, which I thank God for. This is the reason why I'm sitting here today. My actual release date was last year, the 24th of November 2012, but I was released in 2010. On the 5th of November, I arrived in South Africa.
Commuted to life. You out. You free. You out in the street. How did you feel? How did your integration go? Because you went in before cell phones.
Yes, it was quite a challenge for me. especially like coming back home, not seeing my friend who raised my daughter for 16 years, 13 years to be exact. When I came back, I heard that she passed away, and it was very sad for me. So reintegrating back, when I went in, there was no cell phones. It was quite a challenge for me, learning how to use a cell phone. I got frustrated. I was learning how to use the internet because I wasn't used to that. It was a challenge for me sleeping. I was struggling to sleep, especially with the light off, because we have lights 24 hours. And crossing the street, I'm still struggling today, like crossing the street, but I'm doing much better. And be able to, the food was a challenge for me because I wasn't used to the food. I actually ended up in Sunning Hill Hospital due to the water and the food. And then also being in a car was a challenge for me. I got sick because I haven't been in a car for so many years. And the food, after so many years, having home food, things that I haven't seen in a long time, having a peach, and then also sleeping on a bed and bathing, because I haven't bathed for 16 years.
So you lost a big portion of your life.
Yes, I did.
Taken away,
yes.
Obliterated, and you didn't catch up with the world.
Yes.
How are you doing now?
I must say much better than the first year when I arrived. My relationship with my daughter is still a challenge because we do not know each other, so we're still learning of each other. And also I started doing motivational speaking, and that actually really helped me. It helped me with my healing, talking about my situation. It was very difficult for me in the beginning. I struggled a lot, and when I realized how much hope my story gives to people, it actually encouraged me to continue spreading my message and having talks in churches, organizations, and so forth.
Thank you very much. What I like about your story is a story of hope. Don't give up.
Yes.
Don't give in. Never let go. Vanessa's also written a book, and that will be in the store shortly. So please go out, get yourself a copy, because what you've heard were just snippets. But to get the in-depth story, please go out and get yourself a book. Vanessa, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your life, and God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.